Hi, in this video we're going to look at basically the hardest exam style function questions you'll likely be asked at GCSEs. So basically if you've got these, you should go over all the functions. Anything you're sure of, there's a few videos you can watch to go through some of the more basic skills that are going to be used in this video. So let's get stuck in. First question, this is solving with compound functions. So we've got f g x. What we're going to do first is we're going to find an expression for that. Do that, remember, we always work from the inside outwards. We know that g of x is just 5x minus 3, so we can place that there. Now f of x is 2x plus 1, so if we're doing f of 5x plus 3, that's going to be 2 lots of 5x minus 3 plus 1. So remember, whatever's in the brackets here, that replaces all the x's here. So all the x's become 5x minus 3's. And here we've got an equation. Let's clean up the left-hand side. So we've got 10x minus 6 plus 1 equals 15. This minus 6 plus 1 gives us a minus 5. And when it's a simple equation to solve, we add 5 to both sides, so 10x is 20, and therefore x is 2. So that's not too horrendous. Again, what's making this hard is they're combining quite a few steps together. Okay, let's move on. Slightly harder. This time we've got a function with a quadratic. That's going to change a few things. As a basic rule of thumb, whenever you've got a quadratic, you're going to expect somewhere to get 2 solutions coming out. Okay, let's go through it the same way. First things first, we're going to get an overall function. So g of x is just x plus 1. So this is now f of x plus 1 equals 16. The function f just squares x. So in this case, we're going to square x minus 1. X plus 1, sorry. Okay, here we could expand the brackets and then factorize. We actually don't need to. If you've got the case where x only appears once, you can solve it like an ordinary equation in terms of trying to get x by itself. So we have this whole thing squared. The opposite of squaring is just square rooting. So therefore x plus 1 will equal 4. It won't just be 4, because when you undo a square, you're going to get plus or minus. So x plus 1 will either be plus or minus 4, okay, because both those numbers will square to give you 16. Next, we need to get rid of the plus 1. Opposite of plus 1 is minus 1. So x will equal minus 1 plus or minus 4, and that's going to give us 2 solutions. If we take the plus here, we're going to get 3. If we take the minus here, we're going to get x equals minus 5. Okay, we're going to see a few more questions along that same theme. So here, again, I've got fg of x. We worked it out before. That's just going to be x plus 1 all squared. And g of x just equals x plus 1. Okay, you can divide by x plus 1 here, but it kind of things a bit confusing. What we're going to do, just make life a bit simpler, we're just going to expand and factorize it like an ordinary question. So if I expand the left hand side, I get x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals x plus 1. Then it's solving quadratic, so I want to make it equal to 0. So I take away the x plus 1 from the left hand side. I've now got this line here, so I've minus the x and I've minus the 1 from both sides. To solve this, because it's squared, I'm going to expect 2 solutions. So I want to factorize to make sure I get both of them. And here we can see that x will be 0 from this bracket. Or this will equal 0, so x will equal minus 1. Just one more along that theme. So again, we're using the same function first, fg of x. And that is still just x plus 1 all squared. Now here, this is going to equal another compound function. So before we can do this, we're going to work out what this is going to equal. So f of x is just x squared. So now we have g of x squared. And this function, whatever's in the brackets, we just add 1 to it. So that'll be x squared plus 1. So note for one we have brackets, one we don't. Now, same as before, we're going to expand the left-hand side. And then just solve it. You should notice here that I've got x squared and x squared. So these two terms are going to cancel out. I've also got plus 1 and plus 1. they're also going to cancel out. So now all I'm left with is 2 lots of x is nothing, and that tells us that x will be 0. So again, hopefully that's slightly rising in terms of complexity, but it's all based upon the same idea. Just take your time and work out each thing separately before solving the overall equation. Again, this style of questions is getting really popular in like the grade 8, grade 9 style of questions at GCSEs. Okay, just a couple more going through that same theme. So here you want to solve fx equals 2 lots of g of x. This one's not so bad, we're just going to plug it straight in. So fx is x squared. If we've got 2g of x, that's going to be 2 brackets x plus 4. We need brackets because it's 2 times gx, and gx is basically the group of x plus 4. We're now going to solve this like we would solve any quadratic. We expand any brackets we can, and then we're going to make it equal to 0. And as a rough rule of thumb, everything tends to factorise unless you're told that it won't. So here we can factorise this into x minus 4 and x plus 2. From there we can see our two solutions, x equals 4 and x equals minus 2. So again, no step there is really that hard, it's just throwing all those ideas together. So first step, substitute these functions in, and like any quadratic, make it equal to 0 before we can finally factorise and solve it. Okay, again, a new skill, haven't quite shown any videos just yet. We have this style of question. So we've got some function, however there's a plus a somewhere rather than like a plus 7. We are told that f of 3 is 20, and we're going to find the value of a. So we're going to write that again, and we're going to plug everything in. So if I let x equals 3, I'm going to have f3 on my left hand side, which I know was going to equal 20. On my right hand side, I'm going to have 4x, which is 4 times 3, which is 12, plus a. And then solving this, we simply get that a is 8. Okay, again, it's not too hard, it's just something new. So again, you see an exam, it might throw you off, which is why they were practicing these things right at the end. Same idea again, but with like a more complicated function. We're told that f of 2 is 6, so we're going to substitute in x equals 2. We know the left hand side is now going to give us 6. We've got 2x plus a, that is now going to be 4 plus a, and here we have 2 take away 1, that will just give me 1. Anything times by 1 isn't going to change, so we have the fact that 6 is 4 plus a, and from there it tells us that a is going to be 2. Okay, again, nothing too complicated there, it's just a new idea of plugging numbers in. Okay, I think I've just got 2 more examples to do. It's pretty much the hardest it can get. This is like pushing one in sort of grade 9 stuff, but again, when you break it down, it's just more simple skills thrown together in a slightly scary, unusual fashion. So here, we want to solve f of x equals to g of x. We're going to solve these two functions equal to each other. So first step, we just write them down both equal to each other. And again, basically the global rule when solving any equations like this is you want to get rid of your fractions as soon as possible. So the opposite of dividing by both these things is going to be timesing by them both. So if I times both sides by x minus 4, the effect it will have is to put an x minus 4 here. I would also have an x minus 4 here, but that would cancel out with this term here. Over here, I'm going to times both sides by x minus 3. So this x minus 3 is going to vanish. I'm going to have 1 appear on the right hand side. So that's your first step, go to both fractions. The more you do it, the way I just see it, I just think that term's going to go there, and that term's going to go there. Now I have a bit of a mess, but this isn't too bad. Okay, we've got a ton of x's, everything's in brackets. The obvious step is just to expand everything and hope something nice is going to come out of it. So expanding this, however you want to do it, you will get x squared minus 3x minus 4. Expanding this, we just get x squared plus 3x. Okay, straight away, this is simplifying quite nicely. We've got x squared and x squared. They're going to cancel out. Now we're going to solve this. To solve any equation, you want all the x's on one side and all the numbers on the other side. So opposite of minus 3x is plus 3x. So after this equation here, and now to solve it for x, we just divide it by 6. So x will be minus 4 over 6, which simplifies down to minus 2/3. Okay, so again, I think the only really awkward step there was that first step there. So remember, when you've got fractions in an equation, your first step is to get rid of them as fast as you can, then expand out and simplify what you are left with. I'm going to go through one more example like that employs roughly the same idea. So again, we're solving these two functions equal to each other. And just like before, my first step is going to be to get rid of all the fractions. So as I said, if I times by x minus 7, that will basically go there. If I times by x minus 1, that will basically go there. So my next line is going to be x minus 1 equals 6, x plus 7. Okay, then just as before, we're going to expand everything out. So we now have x squared minus x equals 6x plus 42. We have a quadratic. We solve quadratics by making them equal to 0. So now we have x squared minus 7x minus 42 equals to 0. Okay, looking at this, you can quickly determine that this will not factorise. For what it's worth, in this case, the question would tell you that. It would say something like, give your answer to 3 significant figures. So we're going to do that now, and I'm going to solve this using the formula. So the formula we should know is x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This question we have the fact that a is 1, b is minus 7 and c is minus 42, and we just plug that in. This question of a calculator, so I'm just going to use that to work this one out. So again, big fraction minus b, I'll do the plus root first, and I'm just going to plug everything in. So what it's worth, this is fairly unusual in terms of how hard it is, but there's no reason they can't ask you to do this kind of question. Again, it's just breaking down the steps one step at a time. So with the plus root, I get 10.9, change that to a minus, and I get minus 3.87, 3 significant figures. Okay. Again, most questions you see, you'll end up getting whole number answers, which is almost like a clue that you're getting it right. Okay, I hope that helped, and thanks for listening.